Okay, so recording started. So I'll come back to test plan project later, but at least first half I want to start API because some of the concepts are required for next two class. So I already covered lightly that what is API testing and how API testing works. Can somebody give a quick answer? What is API testing?
API testing.
It's okay. So I think I covered this like a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure you probably need refreshing your memory. So yes, so API stands for Application Programming Interface. So API testing will be another alternative that you are doing as part of backend testing. If you are not testing SQL, if you are not testing database tables and schemas, I'm sure you will be checking API because both API and database testing is part of your common backend testing. API is also functionality testing also. So you are making sure that your application, and also when I'm saying API testing, it will be basically web-based application. If it is not web-based application, there will be no API because API is kind of a middle layer that communicating with your application front end and the backend server. So, but for SQL, you don't need that middle layer. So in SQL, you saw that you are directly working on a workbench, and that workbench is connected to your SQL tables server, right? Database server, basically. So there is no internet connection, there is no URL, or there is no like middle layer. So everything you are writing SQL queries, you are getting data. Anything you are doing, so you are basically using relational database management system, and make sure that, okay, you are inserting data correctly, you are getting data correctly, you are updating data correctly, you are using multiple commands, different type of condition, different type of loop statement, different type of conditional statement to check data from different type of tables based on relational database concept like relationship, foreign key, primary key concept. But here, the concept is very similar, but you are not using SQL. You are using actually request and response method that will be URL based, and this is also called HTTP protocol. So before going little more details, so want to show you few pictures that how API will be helpful. And also I'm directly referring this from one of our course that I will be giving part of this week's homework. Means you have to actually start. If you go to Udemy, you will see REST API testing, automation and manual. This will cover both automation and manual. So this is total 24 hours course, but you probably don't need 24 hours. If you can complete like 15 hours or 12 hours, you'll be good enough for interview actually. 24 hours, if you really want to know with advanced knowledge, and if you really want to practice with a lot of exercise, lot of projects, he has like 3 or 4 projects in this course. So like first, like if even you complete like 10 hours, you will be good enough for interview, and you like that will be good enough for your going to market, looking for job and starting in some company. But if anybody can complete 25 hours, that means you are very good at rest assured and the overall API testing. So that will be like few sections will be part of my homework this week, but I'll go there later. So I am all of my notes here. I'm referring from this course that I just showed. So I'll be kind of summarizing few of this stuff for today's class. But before starting, anybody has any related question from previous or anything? I'm sure I just started, so I'm assuming no questions. But if I'm going back to my note again. So if you see this picture, right? So there are currently how APIs are important. As I said earlier, like a couple of weeks ago, if you just know API testing, there is a lot of job opening just on API testing. So if you can complete this, plus you know already SDLC like test plan, right? You are doing test plan. That means you know SDLC methodology. Only SDLC methodology and API have a lot of job opening actually, because most of the companies nowadays are hiring API tester, because as I said, right now, everything is web-based, right? Grocery is web-based. Your entertainment is web-based. Your day-to-day life, everything is on website, some application. You are using some URL, you are using some internet server, right? Calling something, checking something, buying something, ordering something, right? So now API is everywhere actually. So every company is communicating with other companies without going to their source code. They are just using their API server, right? So every company nowadays, most of the major companies, big companies, if you just build something for your own, you probably don't have APIs. But if you think about Macy's.com, Coors.com, Walmart.com, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, all of these companies have their APIs. Why they need APIs? Because they want to sell product not only from their website, they want to sell product through other third party. For example, Priceline.com, for example, right? Priceline.com, hotels.com, you can say a lot of other, right? Third party who actually sells product from other company. So if you think about Priceline.com, right? If I actually quickly go to Priceline.com, so this is Priceline. Okay, this is Priceline. So if you think about Priceline.com, they have hotels, they have flights. So they have bundle and save, they have cars, they have cruises, right? All of these, those are product, right? Those are product. This is called actually product. If you think about Priceline, this is a website, this is a third-party website. Each of them are product line. They have product line like hotel.com, hotels business, flight business. These are bundled, like you are getting some kind of packages, right? Means flight plus hotels plus car, complete packages. Only car, go there. Only cruise, go there. So one thing you know that Priceline actually just a third party. Their main work just communicating with different kind of company, right? Maybe flights means Southwest, Delta, United, American, Frontline, right? Air Canada, whatever flights they have, right, in the market, they're just communicating with those flights. So now if I just give where I'm going, for example, Hawaii, I'm going to actually, okay, I'm going to Hawaii. For example, so for example, LaGuardia to Miami. So if you think about, this is, for example, only one way. What they're doing, they are not actually selling anything from their product from Priceline. They are actually will be communicating with a lot of other flight company, right? Airline company, and will show you, display you the options. How they are getting those options? They know they can only communicate with APIs. So Delta Airlines will not give permission to their source code here to backend, right? So Delta, if you think about this is Priceline and this is Delta, that will be that is not happening. They will not give any permission to go to Delta's code level or source code or backend source and give all the permissions. So there will be a gatekeeper here, right? As I said last time, quickly said, there will be a gatekeeper called API, and this API will be handling all of this permission, all of this information that will be coming back and forth from the main source code. So if you think this is a airline company, Delta, so Delta can go to their own Delta backend and check their database. But if this is a third party, they cannot actually go. They need some kind of permission. Like Priceline needs some kind of permission. And now, if you think about this scenario, without permission, this is not happening. Without permission, this is not happening. But now, if you think about there is a permission now, this is an API. So, what is that? Amazon.com or Priceline will be communicating with API only, not directly to the company. It doesn't matter what type of language they use here, right? Somebody may be Java, somebody may be Python, somebody may be Ruby. It doesn't matter what language they have, but all they need just the API. If they can communicate with the API, API will communicate with each company. So Amazon can communicate at the same time, maybe 2000 APIs they're communicating with, right? So this is maybe Macy's. Amazon is communicating with maybe another is maybe Kohl's, another one maybe Home Depot, right? Another maybe Best Buy. So this is the concept of API. And as I said, API will be working through these two processes. HTTP request. This is called HTTP protocol. So basically, there will be a one flow on the right side is request, and whatever information you are getting will be response. So now from QA, if somebody say, can you give me some scenario when you are getting information from same company? For example, if you think about this is Macy's.com and this is Macy's.com backend. So now you are trying to get the information or you are not getting, you are getting error. This type of scenario, when this type of scenario can happen. So there are some scenario that, okay, even this is your own company, even Delta, and Delta is getting information from their backend, they can sometimes face a lot of issues. So there is another scenario when you see that internally, right? Communicating internally. For example, this is a legacy program, like Delta Airlines backend was built 25 years ago, 20 years ago on Java-based application. And that was JavaScript, right? And now they are thinking, okay, they will create something, the new technology from the front end, like Angular JavaScript. So from front end, they changed Angular, used to be something else, right? Java, JavaScript. Now they cannot communicate. There is a mismatch between the language. So to avoid this type of mismatch, you are using API again, even though this is the same company. So API will be basically, API language will be XML or JSON, and those JSON and XML actually the kind of independent language, and they can communicate with any language. JSON and XML can communicate with any language. If this is a Java, if this is a Python, if this is anything, so they can communicate. So this is language independent and they can communicate. So API, creating API will be resolving this issue. So sometimes you can change your front end, you can change the design. You don't have to change everything in the back end. So all you have to do, just whatever you see for user interface, you are changing. You just a new design. So changing new design with new technology will not be a big problem to fetching data, right? To getting the data from the database or from the backend. So this way, even Macy's will be communicating with their own APIs. Maybe Best Buy will be communicating with their own API because there is a big process to changing everything, right? It's a big company. So if you want to change everything in the backend, maybe you need a couple of years to change. So they are not doing this, and Java is very secure in the backend. So backend is secured. So now, since front-end application is changing every day, newer designs are coming, newer technology is coming. Now, every company try to change every couple of years their new look, right? Even a lot of banks also change their front end for customers' demand to fulfill customers' interest. So you can change your front end. So now API will save a lot of time to change everything in the backend. So just change the front end, it will be working perfectly. So these two scenario actually very important. So API is needed between third party, and also sometimes if you update your front end anytime, then you don't have to change your backend if you have API. So these two confusion can be resolved through API, and this is the two important reason why APIs are getting very, very popular and very, very important from testing purpose actually. Because a lot of company will not give you permission to go to database. They don't want to give you permission to see the database backend pieces. So they will give you permission to APIs. They will give you permission, or they will give you all the necessary details to check through API, but they're not giving you permission to database. So it's okay if you don't have permission in database, if you have proper information for API testing, then you are kind of checking database also. Basically, the process is a little bit different, but concept is same. So now if you go to API, all you have to do, there will be some kind of request. This is HTTP request, and there will be some kind of response. Now, there are four basic request and response process. If you think one is get, one is post, one is put, one is delete, there are more, but as a QA, 99% time, or maybe more than 99% time, you will be working on these four requests only. And even you do automation, you do manual, mostly these four requests. And if you think about SQL right now, most of you already have SQL knowledge, or SQL, actually, database validation. If you think about delete in SQL, delete is delete also, same thing, same name. But if you think about get, get will be exactly same as select statement. Basically, you want to see the data. So get is very similar to select statement. So if you want to see some data from the backend, you will be using this get statement. Post, very similar to insert. Basically, you want to add something, right? That will be post. If you want to add something, you use post method in API. If you want to update anything, for example, you moved from Astoria to Brooklyn, so you will be updating your city, right? So you will be city and zip code. This is similar to update in SQL. The concept, if you already have the database concept, SQL concept, so you will be understanding the concept wise how they are working. So now, if you think about API, right? Your front end will be client, right? And your back end will be server. And there will be a middle layer. HTTP protocol is the middle layer, right? So this is a client server architecture. Example of client server architecture is a perfect example that you are doing in API testing. So there are some other information you need. API will be independent to any language that, as I said, and JSON and XML are common language that you use for API, but you will see JSON mostly because JSON will be displaying, representing data nicely. The representation style is actually better and easier to view and easier to read. So JSON is mostly used for uh, manual purpose. If you test manual testing using tools like Postman, you'll be using actually mostly JSON. So now how actually API works. So that you have now some basic concept clarification. Anybody has any question on any of these concepts? Okay.
Yes, but I have a quick question. So will we get those URLs from the developer to test those APIs like on Postman or JMeter?
Yes, so JMeter you'll be using mostly for load testing, stress testing, and performance testing. We'll be having another class, separate class for JMeter only, actually. So JMeter, you'll be checking that if how the performance is going. Even Postman also will be giving you some kind of performance level information also. But Postman will be mostly using that, okay, those connections are working correctly or not. If the workflow is working perfectly or not. So using Postman, you can actually check sometimes both. Some performance level testing also you can check. But your question was, so I'm not actually clear about the question that you asked.
Yeah, but what I was asking, like those HTTP protocols, I mean those URLs to test the REST services, right? So those will we get those URLs from the developers, or we have to automate or something and get those URLs? Like how does it work?
Okay, so yeah, this is a good question actually. So API related URL, API related information, you will be getting always from the development team. So if you see here, you are not building this part. Development team will be building this part. You will be testing this if everything is working correctly or not, this workflow. This is the round trip. You see that this is a round trip workflow going back and forth. You are checking this round trip workflow. You are not building this. This is development job. You are not building this. This is development job. You are not building this. This is also development job, right? But what you are doing, you are using their work, right? Everything will be given to you. Your job will be checking all of these three pieces working correctly or not. This is your job actually. To do this job, you'll be actually using several tools. Most of the company who does manual testing for API, they use this is a tool called Postman. Actually, Postman is a very popular tool. I'll be going there also, Postman. And if you are doing automation based on Java, even with you can use framework, Selenium framework also, but you don't need Selenium for REST assured based on Java. You can use IntelliJ or you can use Eclipse. Any of these will be fine. So if you actually go to this course, right, he actually explained everything. What is that? You see that? everything here. So 5 hours he just gave extra for Java. You probably don't need this because you already have Java, right? So if you think about 24 hours, right? 5 hours is gone here. The basic Java concept is 5 hours. So this course is actually 19 hours. Okay. So now this is API concept. This is API with Postman, right? This is manual portion. And this is automation portion that will be using either IntelliJ or either Eclipse. And this is the tools, that manual tools called Postman. So now what information you actually need before you starting API testing. So I actually got directly from this course one simple document he provided here. Okay, uh, everybody can see my screen, right? Okay. Okay, so some information you need from development team actually. So if you think here, you are checking these 4 methods, for example, in QA, and now you need several resources to check those. First thing is you always need your URL for API. You see that this is, for example, some sample API, right? So your google.com will be the API URL now, and this will be resources, right? Maps, right? Search is another resources. If you think about here, Priceline, right? So now if you go to hotel, so priceline.com is your maybe URL for your API, and now hotels and hotels will be your resources. Basically, what is API? API is like exact address where these informations information are located in your server, right? So if you think about this address, as you search more stuff, you will be adding specific address. So you are just giving the address. In SQL query, you are giving the conditions, right? Where having group by this type of condition, but in API, you are giving some kind of address is like physical address. Like if you want to go to some house in Jackson Heights, if somebody say I live in Jackson Heights, like I think like 2 million people lives in Jackson Heights. You can figure out his house. You never can figure out his house. Now, if you say, okay, I live in Jackson Heights, 37 Avenue, 76th Street. Can you figure out his house? You still cannot figure out his house. You still need some other numbers also, right? What building he has. There's like a lot of buildings, right? Apartment buildings that have like hundreds of apartments in each building. You still don't know which, even he gives the building number, you still don't know which apartment he lives in. So you actually need specific address. So in API validation, you will see you are giving specific address actually, and you are dealing with those specific address, and those specific address you have to know, right? And your development team will be providing most of the specific address, and they will be most of the time giving the template you actually need. And those template, if you don't have, you always have to ask. This is your job to ask actually. um, for example, there are information endpoint, right? What is endpoint? Base URL. If you think about here, https://www.google.com. This is your base URL. Now, Google has images, Google has maps, a lot of things, right? Amazon has order. So these are base URL. Your base URL will be always provided by your development team, right? And then orders, right? So maybe your project is on images. So you probably don't have the access on these two. You will have only access to this. So each of these kind of department, right? If you think about insurance, you have home department, you have car department, you have maybe bundles, you have maybe speedboat, you have maybe motorcycle. Each of them you maybe have life insurance. So those are kind of department inside your company. So each department has their own address, right? Server. This is kind of everything we think high level. Those are like folder structure. Then even server also is kind of folder structure, right? Something big, then inside big, there is another section. And inside this another section is another section. So those are mapping, or you are just want to see specific address. The main purpose is just to figure out something specific. So high level, this is a folder structure. So each of these you can see folder. So maybe in the building, your apartment is one folder, and inside the apartment, your maybe uh, bedroom is one thing, right? Maybe inside one apartment there is two sections. One is one folder, another is another folder. One side is maybe for guests, one other side is for you, right? So these kind of everything is kind of folder structure concept. So if you think about, oh, sorry, if you think about this base URL, right? So base URL called in API, this is called endpoint actually. So if you think about endpoint, okay. So endpoint is kind of complete address. So where you're actually, where you ending to. So if you think, okay, I'm going to my friend house. So you're in Jackson. So your endpoint will be going to his apartment, right? So it will be always starting with URL, then step by step, maybe avenue, then street, then apartment number, then maybe till apartment number, right? That will be your base point. Sometimes if you have 4 friends in this apartment, you have to give which friend, the friend's name will be your base point till the complete URL or complete address. That will be your endpoint. Um, Anybody has any question about endpoint? And this endpoint actually, at least till resources, your development team will always will be providing. But this part, maybe you test data depending on you. Sometimes this will be just your test scenario. Depending on your test scenario, you can be changing this. But base URL and resources will be provided by development team. And if you don't have, you always ask to give them. Any question from anybody else so far? So, okay, so for Postman and rest assured, even API, right? For API testing, there are some important error code or status code you will be always validating. So for get, right? Anytime you get something, means kind of select statement, means you want to see something. If your request is successful, you will be getting 200 level status code. So remember in Java, we saw status exit code with 0 versus 1. 0 is like success. 1 is kind of some kind of issue. So 200, if you have a GET request and you are getting anything other than 200 is a problem. So if you get 200 status code, your test case can be passed. But obviously you have to assert this result also, right? There is an assertion also. Now, if you request to post something, means to create some data, right? That will be 201. Also, if there is an empty response, 204. If there is a bad request, 400. Data not found, 404. Is 400 and 404, maybe you guys always see. Sometimes you search something in online, you see sometimes 404, sometimes 400, right? Bad request or 404. Those are kind of API related issue. Even though you don't know API, but sometimes you see API responses that, okay, my connection is not working, means the server you are requesting information from, somehow it is not working. So you are getting either 404, right? So those are error status code, or those basically status code. You will be validating part of your testing. And also some other information we'll be checking, that how long it is taking. So if you have a request and it's supposed to coming like in maybe three, what is that? Maybe 100 millisecond. So 1000 millisecond equal to 1 second, right? So some requests should be faster. You should not take like 30 seconds or 40 seconds. So those kind of how fast you are getting the response, this is also you can test part of your API testing or Postman or REST assured. So what other information you need actually? Okay, so Postman, as I said, Postman will be used for most of the time manual testing. And if you are testing automation part, you will be using, if this is Java based, then you'll be using REST assured. So REST assured will be automation, and all you have to do, you have to just download the library for REST assured library. So download the REST assured library and set up the path, and you can just start writing API testing. And if you follow his video, he actually explained really slowly and with a lot of details. So you see that introduction, everything, he explained everything. So there are like, I think, 2 more courses also related to API. So I would suggest whatever courses you start, just follow one person, not like 3-4 person. If you start 3-4 person, you will be confused and you will never complete. So only start one person. Just check like one video and see like who actually seems like reasonable to you, like whose explanation style you like more. Whoever you like more, start his video. If you search here, and you will see a lot of courses related to API testing, SOAP UI, and other thing. Even Postman has courses also here. Okay, let me check. Okay, so this is environment setup. You can just follow his video also, but few other information that you need for API testing. So since I'm using this Rahul Shetty's website, so he actually provided some sample API information that you need, or most of this information you are actually asking to your developer. So if you see, he is actually doing some kind of Google Map API. This is his base URL. You see that? So this information, base URL, resources, even query parameters, these 3 you must need from your development team. And also you need the template body. Your development team actually built this one. This is kind of query, right? Select this, but this is a long query actually for API. And this is a JSON format. You see that this is a JSON format and JSON language. So this is kind of, they're collecting data and they are going, okay, if we go to this picture, right? Okay, so here, this JSON format information going, you are giving this information and this JSON template, giving all this data through HTTP protocol. So you have some kind of tools here. For example, Postman. For example, I'm using Postman here. Instead of this front end, this is Postman now. So now Postman is providing request to whatever company you are looking for the information. Here, your company is, actually this is Postman, okay. So your company is Google, right? Where is that company? here maybe Rahul Shetty Academy. This is your API, his company. You are checking his company's API. And maybe if you see other company, maybe Delta, maybe Google, maybe Facebook. So depending on what company you are working on, if you are working on Chase Bank, maybe chasebank.com something URL. So here it is coming. This is the API, and this information is coming through HTTP protocol to the API, and API will be getting those information from the tools or from the other third party or from other UI client. And now the job of this API is based on your request, right? Based on your request, it will communicate with the server. So remember, as I said, you are in database validation through SQL, you are bypassing this part. You are directly going to this database and using some workbench, right? And asking data, getting data information. But now you don't have database permission. You are not checking database. You are asking your server to check database. Actually, you are asking to your server because you are using HTTP protocol and your server will be using HTTP protocol only. You cannot just simply use SQL or simple English statement. So there is some process, right? So you are just going to server, telling server, can you provide me on Monday for Delta Airlines how many seats available? So now it is Delta Airlines API. Maybe this is Priceline. And now Delta is going to their backend server and saying, can you communicate with the database table? And how many seats available for Tuesday, April, something for 2 people. So these database, they are doing internal query. You don't have to worry about that internal query. You have to worry about this part only. So you don't have to worry about that what SQL query they are using to get database. This is part of another testing that we did, SQL, right? So now HTTP protocol JSON coming here, asking this server is getting data, okay, 4 seats available, and it is giving here, okay, this API, 4 seats available. So response, now API is providing this response to this UI, like, what is that? Postman. Postman will be displaying this response that, okay, 4 seats available. So this is the entire process actually. So as I said, I will not go too much practical exercise today, because next 2 class will be a lot of practice on Postman and rest assured. So mostly theoretical part. Now, I hope everybody just understood the whole process from high level. I already explained this. Now going back to this. Okay. So if you see here, this is the formula I said. So there is a formula, and formula has some kind of field, right? For example, you're looking for name. This maybe that will be maybe Delta Airlines. Maybe that will be your Delta Airlines URL. Each of these field will be defined by your development team. You are not actually creating this. Your development team actually creating this. So this formula will be inside the API server, right? For the collecting. So anytime you don't have this type of formula or template, you always have to ask your development team. All you have to do, you are providing your test data, right? You are providing the address. Address is your test data. Development team don't care about what type of address you are using. So all they care, they are building some kind of template so that you can use this. And this is like, they will be using some standard. So the target is, for example, you are giving specific information. So now this is a post request. So can somebody tell what is post mean?
Post means update.
Post actually not update.
I
Post is
think create.
creating some data.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
are actually adding a new row in your database. For example, this address, this. So in database, you are creating a new information, new data. For example, some new account ID is created. You went to TD Bank and created all the a new account. So now this is, for example, maybe your information. So instead of using SQL query, you have now option for API, right? So this is kind of, you think about SQL query but different format, API format actually, in JSON. SQL is SQL, structured query language, and this is JSON format. So you are giving all the information and a new data will be created. Maybe a new account will be created. So post is actually creating new account or creating new data. Put, on the other hand, put will be update. You'll see the put will be update existing data, and delete will be, okay, you closing the account, you'll be deleting the account. Now get will be after you post new data, or if you have any existing data, you want to see those data, that will be get request. Kind select statement. Okay, so this template will be provided by development team. And now if you create a new data, so there is a response also. This is a response. If you see here, right? Now you are giving this. So now all of the way it is going here and here. It is updated, data is updated, and now there is a response coming back, and you see this response. This is the response. Okay, status is okay. And you will also see in your tool, this is the response, but in your tool, you will also see status code also. Like, as I said, what is the status code for post? The success status, 201, right? Remember, this is sometimes interview question. Different type of status codes they can ask during interview. 201 will be for post, successful request data was created, right? 200 successfully you got the response. So this template also you didn't create actually, you just getting this because development team built this the way you are seeing actually. You give the right information, now you are getting the response back. So part of your validation will be checking this is displaying, this is displaying, this is displaying correctly or not. And another validation will be, okay, now you created this, right? So what does that mean? You have some information with this address, this phone number, this name, right? Whatever the name you just created. So you will use now get method. So now you will be using before. Okay, now you will be using this get method, and you are just looking for this information. Okay, see that, okay, this information displaying correctly or not. You see that now he is checking that, okay, this is, he means Rahul Shetty actually, I'm just using his note. So he is checking that, okay, he created this, everything updated correctly. How he knows updated correctly? Can somebody tell? He's not only seeing the response, he's also checking status code also, right? So this is a response actually. So in get method is simple. You just have to give some key. For example, this is the complete key, for example. So this is the key. So you are giving the key or some query. For example, your primary key, right? Your social security number. You're searching with social security. So only one person will be displaying on the screen, right? If somebody search with a social security. So some unique key he's searching and he see those information. And those information was created by you, right? The format is created by development team, but the information you already provided through post. And later after post, you are just checking this through get that, okay, information's updated, created correctly or not. So now, okay, so this was post. So what is then, okay, what is delete? So now this is a delete actually. So delete means you just basically giving some specific place ID. So now you see that you actually created some place ID here. So this is your kind of a ID. This is like kind of your driver license, right? Like license ID or something. So this is kind of unique in some table where you will be deleting. So you said, okay, I want to delete this record where place ID equal to this. If you think about SQL, okay, delete this person with place ID equal to this. That means if you just run this query, the person will be deleted from the table, for example. Similar process here. So you are just giving some specific ID that is unique to this record, and then status will be okay, right? Means response will be okay. If you delete successfully, this is the status. If you are not deleting successfully, that means this place ID may be not correct, maybe something issue, maybe it's not unique, there will be some other information. So if you delete something, your information will be something like that, right? Created, delete, right? So the next one is actually get. I already showed you this get information. Now put is basically update. In SQL, you saying, okay, request will be go to there and update some information. Before the address was something, right? What was the address before? Address was 29 side layout, right? Something address. So now he's using put command and changing the address. Basically, he's changing the address. He gave actually two key. He gave one key here, place ID is here. So he's using two keys. So that the right person actually updates his address. So put is basically updating the place. So now, so this is kind of information. All of you will see this template. So your response is important because you have to validate your response actually, and your response template of the response will be given by your development team. So big part of this API testing is actually a lot of information will be provided by your development team. All you have to know, you have to implement those templates, implement those information. Postman will be very straightforward. But rest assured, you have to practice a little bit of Java. Sometimes you need Java knowledge. Sometimes, basically, if you practice, it depends on practice. If you practice, it will be easier because you already know how Selenium works. So now, how you already know how SQL works. So this is also Java-based, rest assured. So when you practice few test cases, following some kind of course like that, or actually you will see next week also, rest assured, then you need some practice for interview basically. If you can write like few test cases and you can run properly, so you can at least explain in your interview. So now I will quickly go to Postman. So I already downloaded Postman. So now if you actually download Postman, you can simply follow his video. He also explained everything. Also, you can go to Guru 99. You see that Postman tutorial, Guru 99. Guru 99 also very detailed, and they actually give a lot of information that how you can download, how you can actually do each of these 4 commands: post, get, put, and delete. Step by step, everything they did. Guru 99 is very, very helpful actually. If you follow sometimes, and this is free, open source, you can follow Guru 99 also. And Guru 99 actually give step-by-step instruction also. If you don't want to follow Guru 99, just follow maybe him. He also actually, Rahul Shetty or some other instructor, whoever you choose, just follow the instructor. And YouTube also has hundreds of video. So now, if you go to Postman, so download Postman. So if you see download Postman for Windows, download Postman for Mac, depending on your choice. So this is just simple, try Postman for free. This is just like free installation. So there are 2 types of download the app. You can download the app, and if you download the app, that will be like app format like Zoom, right? And you have website type of also like just desktop application. But download apps is okay. All you have to just create a simple account. But if you just follow the video, I think you'll see everything. So now I already downloaded the apps. For example, this is Postman app. So if you see, this will be your kind of okay. So this, when you download, right, you will see something like that. So this is a Postman. Everybody can see, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a like app. This is an app, something like you saw for what is that? Yeah, IntelliJ and those things like also like Workbench, right? So this is also app or SQL Workbench or something like that you will be downloading. So it will be automatically create, but you have to just create an account. So your email address needs some valid email address. So all you have to do, you see that here there is 3 option. So you can, anytime you create a project, right? So you just not gonna use request means a test case. You can see request means 1 test case. So you don't want to just create a project with 1 request, 1 test case, right? So collection is kind of your project level, right? So you will create a collection, and then inside the collection you will be adding request, so that if you have like 100 requests, you can run them. So if you click on collection, you'll be just giving some name, right? So if I say spring 2021 QA, right? So if I say this will be my like project, like this is kind of project level. If I create, you can give information, you can write information here. Then you see that this is a new folder just created. So now what will be your, so if you see there is 0 request, so now you can add a request here. You can add a request here, or you can just go there. You see that 3 dot, more action. Here you have all of these. You can add request, you can add additional subfolder. Remember, you are working on test.ng, and Joelva will be showing that, okay, you are building a folder for smoke testing, you are building another folder for regression testing, you are building another folder for maybe sanity testing, something like specific folder. Everything is kind of going through folder structure. So now if you create a new test or new request, each request means a test. You see that you can just test get request, for example. So if I say test get request, so you can actually give space. There is no rules like that. You cannot give space like Java class. So Java class you cannot give space, but here you can give space. So now if you save here, it will be saved under this folder. So now see that one request just added. So you can go here, or you can just directly go to new and request. If you just now go to new folder, you have to type, for example, test post. So it is going to save to QA 2021 folder also. So you can go here also, you can go here also. But because this is already pre-selected, right? Because I was there. Now I don't want to save here. So what you have to do, you have to search if you have any other folder. So if you see that Spring 2021, so actually there was another option that, okay, if you want to just change this, I don't know why this is not working, but okay, let me cancel this first. So now if you select this and now select new request, this is so this should be actually updated to this instead of previous one. For some reason it is not working, I don't know why. Anyway, so this is a free version, but your company will have your company's paid version, and then your paid version will be working, I think, appropriately. But this usually works. For example, this is a sample get request, right? What is get means? Can somebody tell what is get request mean?
To extract any REST service to see the JSON files.
Okay, so basically I'm going to this base URL, right? And then this is my resources, right? Resources, additional resources. So I am actually using this one, this website. Actually, I found this, and then I created some requested. So this is JSON placeholder. They have a lot of free API. So basically, I'm going to users, right? So this is my resources. So this is your URL, means base URL or API URL that your development team will be providing. And this is your additional extension as a resources. So if you see here, if I run these users, right? So what is your expectation? You see there are 10 users, right? So my expectation will be, I will see information about these 10 users, right? See if I run this now. Okay, so you see that couple of things, 200, right? So response 200 means this is a success, right? Time 129 millisecond means like 1000 millisecond equal to 1 second is like 1/10. So performance is expected also. So these two you have to sometimes assert. You have to do assertion sometimes. And you will see the customers here. Customer ID 1, 2, 3, 4. My expectation is 10 customer, right? All of these customers are here. You see? Till ID 10. So you see this very similar to SQL, right? You are getting all the information based on your response query. So you are creating some kind of response query here. So now if you, okay, if you see there, right? There are a lot of other get practice, right? So if you see, so what is that actually? This is similar to this, right? This is also URL actually. So these are just, they're giving you sample for practice. So if I just run these, for example, copy, and then if I just give it to here, now if I send this, what's gonna happen? You see that this information is matching with this information, right? See that? So this is your expected, right? So this is your expected. Now your development team probably provided this kind of information, and this is web-based, and now this is Postman, and Postman also getting same thing, right? And you can also see this is a JSON language, and there are a lot of other languages also, but for Postman, it's like 99.9% time you'll be using JSON, because as I said, this is a good display. You can check your user ID. You can check your ID title. This is a nice display, right? Representation is better representation for JSON. If you go to XML, you'll see similar but little bit different, right? There is no red. JSON will be actually giving you better, like what is the field, right? Field will be separated. If you go to XML, very similar, but no reddish. If you go to HTML, it will be a little bit more complicated, right? If you go to text, it will be also different, right? So JSON is mostly used because this is better representation. And most of this language here you see, right? They are independent language. Basically, these languages can work with any other language like XML, JSON, HTML. They will be working with Java, they will be working with Python, they will be working with C#, whatever language you use. As you saw here, right? It doesn't matter what your resource, right? In the backend, what language they're using. JSON or XML or this type of language will be working with those backend easily because they are not an issue, because those are independent language and works with any other programming language. So you saw that the response, this is the response. So now going back to some post example, if you go there. So for post, you have to give some template inside the body. Now, if you see that, I am trying to create another customer. For example, I am giving some name. I'm giving my name, for example. Here, okay. So I'm giving my name, and let's see if it works or not, actually. So now, run this. So expectation is, this is created, right? So expectation is I will see something in the backend that is that actually added my name, right? So if I go back to JSON plus, actually, what is that? Okay. Now, did they add anything? No. Okay, so I think this is just like practice purpose. They say the status is 200 means success, and this one was 201 status. You see that 201. This is a success. Oh, okay. This one response. Okay, response is here. Actually, it was created. You see that it was created in the backend. This name created because I provided this name, right? So post is working also. So you are using this. If you are doing manual testing, you will be basically checking this post, get, put, and delete, and make sure that your response is displaying correctly or not. All you have to check the response time, response status, and some information inside what you are supposed to check, right? So few stuff, those are part of your assertion. If you do automation testing, you'll be checking maybe these, all of this part of assertion. Name, right? Street, city, zip code, that could be your part of your assertion. And maybe ID, right? So those will be part of your assertion that you'll be checking through automation rest assured based on Java. But Postman, you will see more practical example next week. But those are some basic actually. Let me check what other thing. Yeah, so basics are, okay, you need base URL, you need resources, you need sometimes query parameter because you have to provide the information to delete, update, edit, get. And whatever I just showed you, everything is based on actually this project, this course. And these are some sample website that where you can just see some UI, API. There are more. There are hundreds of free APIs actually that you can test using the Postman. But my suggestion for this week, go to this one of this, at least one of these course and start. At least start like few hours, a complete few hours, so that next class you will be up to date and it will be easier to understand. I don't think so. I have any. I don't want to actually cover anything else today. So you will see more stuff next week. So next half an hour, actually, I want to cover test plan. So far, anybody has any question about the basic concept on Postman and REST API.
Yes, but yeah, I have a quick question. So if we get to finish this Udemy course, you think once we get a job, supposedly if I get a job as an API tester, I should be able to perform the job as well?
Definitely, you can start and perform. You can at least communicate with the team members. If you complete this course, for example, you have enough knowledge to start the job. Actually, any web-based application, if you already know how to write code, right, for Java stuff, so this is a complete guideline. Definitely different company has different type of website. Your company can have complex website. There will be always challenges, right? But you can definitely start working, and you can perform API testing if you just do this course.
Okay, Bhaiya, thank you so much.
You're welcome. But I'm saying, but even though I'm just saying that start this course, your test plan will be the first priority for this week still. Make sure that by end of this week, you are just completing test plan document so that we can set up test plan peer review sometimes once everybody is done. Any other question from anybody else? And another course you probably need, because some companies, most of the companies nowadays use REST API, but few companies still use SOAP UI. So this is also API, just different tools. Okay, SOAP UI. So this is another tool that many companies use. This is REST API using SOAP UI tools. Actually, this is another tool. Actually, SOAP UI. That one is REST Assured Library, previous one, and this one is SOAP UI tools. This is another tool. So there are different tools. Like if you know, okay, you are getting jobs, some company, that company use SOAP UI, go back to this course and complete this course in a week before your job starts, so that at least you know you have proper knowledge that what you are doing. That's why is Udemy sometimes helpful, because if you get the job, you're not going to start tomorrow. You got the job today, you're not starting tomorrow. They will give you time, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and these 3-4 weeks before starting, you can review that is required for your company. You don't have to complete all of these and then start looking for a job. You can get the ideas on most of the stuff without going to advanced level. Then you can actually complete based on your requirement at your project, at your company. Because if you want to complete all of these projects, it's going to take like 8-9 months. This is lengthy. Okay. Any other question from anybody else? Okay, so I will stop here and I will start reviewing some test plan stuff actually. So few of you still confused about the test plan document. I'm opening. Okay, opening the projects. So anybody who just actually, I think most of you today, not too many people, only 13 people. So all of you, almost all of you actually, let me check. Almost all of you gave me the first part. Almost all of you gave me the first part. So anybody did not give me the first part by yesterday, I think you have to give the answer to Joel by tomorrow. I'm not asking any question. Okay, so I already provided you complete requirement specification. So this is the complete requirement specification. So whoever got the complete requirement specification, you guys have clear understanding now, and you have any question? Uh, Galina, you have any question on this process? I know you already started, and I saw one of your email, but I still didn't give the answer.
Yes, I sent you like the complete test project. I just wanted to see if it was correct. In a
Yes,
sense, you can.
I kind of reviewed that, but few stuff so when you wrote the test cases, did you, so who was the author in your test cases?
Me?
So you updated your name, right?
I'm not sure. I think I put your name.
Okay, no. So like there are like few stuff that if you are writing anything, that will be your name.
Yes. Okay.
If you review with me, then there is another field that review with. That review with field can be replaced by my name. But yeah, I will reply you back actually because I didn't get a chance to complete everybody's actually email. So I saw like you are on track. Like few stuff maybe you have to fix, but at least you completed very early. So there are a lot of acceptance criteria I see, and if you write actually proper scenarios, you can write actually 200 scenarios here. But you don't have to write 200 scenarios. Just try your best that how many scenarios you can write, how many test cases. But test cases, you have to write just 4, right? As I said, 2 negative test cases and 2 positive test cases. So everybody reviewed my acceptance criteria who got it?
Yeah, Bhaiya, I did. I have a quick question. So based on each acceptance criteria, we will come up with a scenario, I mean test scenario, and based on that test scenario, we will come up with like 2 positive and 2 negative test cases, right?
Yes, you cannot write actually test cases for all of them 2 positive and 2 negative. Just sample. I just want to see you understand how to write test cases actually. Just randomly pick 2 negative test cases and randomly pick 2 positive test scenarios and write test cases.
Okay, Bhaiya.
If you want to write this is like you need a lot of time actually writing everything.
Yeah, it will take a lot more time. It's like
Yeah.
about 25.
This is like full-time job. If you think about this is like full-time job. Every day you are working like 9 hours. So I don't want to write like all the test cases, but you can write easily test scenarios because test scenario will be just simple English, just simple one-line statement. But some of the scenario, this will be little bit too much. For example, I said current version -2, for example. This is kind of standard most of the company follow. For example, your laptop has Chrome 89. So whoever has 88, that should be also working correctly. But these are kind of edge cases that you have to cover all of these scenarios. You don't have to cover all of these scenarios actually, like here, like whatever current version you have, just check these. Sometimes they just give this information because if some users has like old version of Chrome and come up with complaint that it is not working in my laptop. That's why they just mentioned this. But if you have Chrome 89, Chrome 88 should be working also. And some of the stuff, I gave some information. This is like some basic concept that, okay, there will be a database table, there will be a schema that you have to validate fields after you create a new account, after you update your password. Some field should be updating all of this information. So there is database testing is required here. This project sounds very small, but this is a big project actually. If you think about every single scenario, this is a big project. 2 QA at least required to complete this project in 2 weeks. one QA will be too much. This job will be too much for one QA. If only one QA, maybe not two functionality. There are like total of 3 functionality plus 1 common functionality. But even though this is like simple website scenario, but there are a lot of acceptance criteria. Each of these acceptance criteria has several scenarios actually. And if you think about boundary value analysis, user ID, you see that each of these user ID, there are boundary value analysis, right? So there are a lot of scenarios. You have to think about those actually. Boundary value analysis, equivalence partitioning is very important here. So this is important. One question, is Nashid in this class? Hello? Let me check who is the participant. Who is displaying as a phone number 86768883278? Can you unmute yourself and say who is that? Hello? Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I
Yes.
can hear
Yes,
you.
yes.
Yes, Shantavai.
Yeah, we
Yes,
all
Yeah.
I want to know who is that person actually, the number, phone number.
The Chinese phone number 86.
Actually, I can delete this phone number from the group if person is not talking. Okay. Report. Report. Okay. Because every time I ask who is that, never answers. Last couple of classes also I asked. Okay.
Yeah, but I have a quick question.
Yes.
So who comes up with those ACs, acceptance criteria? The product owner or the business analyst?
No, this product owner give the information to business analyst, and business analyst just created a nice document version for everybody. Business analyst responsibility to provide this information to everybody. So if you think who gave this information, product owner gave those information. So product owner came up with this business logics, or business people came up with business logic, but business analyst documented those after have a meeting with product owner maybe, and then business analyst created a document. So business analyst created this document, and sometimes these documents are added to Jira story as a Jira story, right? And sometimes if you don't have Jira in your company, they will be giving you those information as email documentation. Sometimes there is a folder, SharePoint. Your company can have SharePoint for everybody, and this SharePoint has those based on your ID. Each ID has some documentation.
Hello, Shantavai.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Someone text you in the
Yes, but this person is not talking.
in the group. I think he's in hospital. That's why he cannot talk.
I think it's Nashid.
No, I'm Faisal.
No. I was looking for Nashid.
Yeah, Nashid text you in the WhatsApp group. Check it.
Yeah, I checked that, but he never answers to me actually. Last 4 weeks, I see same number, and yeah, there is a problem with the communication with him last couple of weeks.
He says he's in the hospital. That's why he can't talk.
Yeah, but Joel Bhai requested many times at the beginning, and I also said, don't just join with the unknown name. I explained few times in the text also. I just want to see the name actually, that who joined. Okay. So today's class was very, very short actually. Half of the class actually didn't join also. But many of you, this is a good time to just catch up with all of this homework and quizzes and anything you are just behind. Like few of you already on track. So you can keep continuing with your automation framework. You can build your automation framework. You can add more stuff, and you can work with GitHub practice. So that is part of your. It's up to you. And if you want to start, if you have time, somebody already maybe almost done with test plan document, you can start some of this API, some of this. So this is this one. Okay. So I would suggest start with REST API instead of SOAP UI, because most of the company use REST API and some companies use SOAP UI also. So I would suggest, if you have time, start with this course. So everybody understood what is the expectation for this week, actually? Hello? So I just want to make sure that, like, after, like on Friday night, somebody will tell, I didn't understand, or I don't know what was the due or something. So everybody understood what is due by Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Shankar.
So Galina, I will check your template that you already sent me, test plan template. So template is totally different than the test plan. What is that? The requirement and test cases will be another big task other than the template for this week.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody is clear about the expectation for this week. So yeah, so next week there'll be more details about the API testing with real life experience, the examples. One more class. Okay. So if nobody has any question, I think we'll close early today. If anybody has question, then
Tomorrow is a class, right?
tomorrow. Yeah, the Joel is supposed to take the class. Yeah, last week he skipped because everybody was behind, and that's why.
Thank you.
So, I have a quick question just to recap like the overview, right? So once we join a company, we will get the requirements. We have to analyze the requirements and then come up, based on the after analyzing the requirements, there will be the acceptance criteria on those requirements. We have to come up with test scenarios and test cases based on those acceptance criteria, and after that we plan the test document, right?
Yes, so the process, whatever you said, this is correct. Little bit maybe change. The acceptance criteria I didn't give at the beginning, but usually acceptance criteria will be given. I just skipped that part because I wanted to see if all of you just can ask me the right valid questions. So maybe I gave acceptance criteria and you are asking me a lot of questions because intentionally I actually left them out. But in real life, you will not see that much question. You will see maybe 10 questions you come up after reading the requirement. Most of the information usually business analysts try to provide in the document, but sometimes they skip, sometimes product owner also not clear that what he will provide at the time they provided the information. So yes, the process is when you join a company, your process is STLC process, right? So the first part of STLC process, you will be getting some kind of task as a requirement, and you will be reviewing those requirements. Make sure that your understanding is clear on this requirement, the functionality, on the product you are testing actually. Then you will be starting writing test cases, test scenario. It can be done together. If you have automation, then you have to write not only the simple test scenario in English, you have to write everything in programming language also, right? In Java or using Selenium, whatever framework you use, right? TestNG, Cucumber. Now then, after you write test cases, if it is SDLC process with waterfall methodology, you must create a test plan document also. But if it is agile, most of the time you don't have to create test plan document, because in agile you have only like 2 weeks, and usually there is a test strategy. Test strategy actually is created, is a standard template for each company beginning of each project. So each project can have 50 sprint. Not every sprint you need to build some kind of test strategy or test document. So all you have to do, make sure you're understanding requirement correctly after analyzing. If you have any question, if you need any clarification, just reach out to the person. Ask appropriate person. Sometimes business analyst, sometimes maybe you lead. If you need any permission for some tools, maybe you lead or your QA manager will be helping you. Sometimes if you need help from development team, any clarification, ask them. You have daily stand-up, ask quick question every time you have. You can email, make sure any clarification you are getting, those are proper documented. As I said, you need some documentation process so that, okay, anything happen after 6 months, so you can actually provide, okay, I tested this based on this response. Business analyst provided me this, development team provided me this. So documentation is very important. And then you'll be writing test case, test scenarios. So then you are good to go. And also make sure that your entry criteria is ready, right? Entry criteria means before you start testing, your code will be deployed to QA maybe, or any testing reason. All the appropriate questions are given, clarified, right? So those are important. The process is basically, as you said, Rahat, so your process is right. The way you are thinking, this is right.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other question from anybody else? Okay, so I hope everybody is clear about the week's agenda. But join tomorrow, Joel class. So he will probably add more stuff. Okay, so I can then close today. Have a rest of the weekend. Okay, I'm stopping sharing. Stop recording also. Where is recording? Okay.